Okay. Well, it's been some time. It's been some time. My life has been chaos and just total and utter chaos. But before we get started, I have not harvested in a week. Oh. And so, yeah, I haven't harvested. So we're going to go check out what's in the garden. And hopefully nothing died. Some things look close to dying. Oh, let's see. My poor yarrow. We also had a field mice family. Send me a like if you can hear me. Sometimes I have issues with my microphone. Let me know if you can hear me. I'd be very interested. Anyway, we lost our yarrow, guys. That's all right. It will come back next year, but it officially has gone dormant. We had a little mouse situation, and I've been sick all week, so I haven't harvested anything. So yeah, no bueno. So hopefully I have enough time to make this fire cider. Gonna harvest some stuff in here. You want to be careful not to cut too far into the woodsy because then it won't grow back. This is thyme. I don't need too much. I do use that throughout the season, so I'd like to save some of it. I'm sorry if I'm breathing heavy. I am recovering from COVID. No fun, which is why I need to make my fire cider. I should have made it before. And we're going to go get some rosemary. And I'm also going to harvest some of this little mallow. I have not planted. It is just growing. Oh, my poor garden. There are no such thing as weeds. There are just plants in the wrong places. And we have some plants in the wrong places out here. But that's okay. If you look, you can see my bees doing their thing. Being all cute and stuff. Oi! There's my cattle dog in the background. He is annoying, but he's adorable, and we love him. So we're just going to get some rosemary. The good news is, I guess it's good and bad news, or just news, since those cancel each other out, is I'm a terrible gardener. I will kill plants. And I have to find the ones that are like hardy enough to survive my neglect. And I try. And in the beginning of the season, I do really good at making sure I take care of them and I water them and they're my babies. And then life happens with 4 kids and everything else. And it just gets a lot. Oh, good. There's some thistle out here. I will definitely be using that. So if you don't know what fire cider is a herbal tonic, and this tonic is made with apple cider vinegar. I like to use raw apple cider vinegar with Mother. It's really great for your gut microbiome, and you essentially use the apple cider vinegar to as a menstruum, which is like a drawing medium. So you're going to soak your plant materials and your vegetables and your herbs and your flowers in this menstruum. I'm going to put some fruit in there too and some raw honey. And we just let that saturate for 4 weeks. And when you strain it, the apple cider vinegar will have drawn out all of those great compounds within the plant matter. And now you've got like a little shot you take. It helps boost your immune system, helps with your gut. It's great for colds. It's great for cold prevention. So I'm just going to do like a catch-all one for stomach viruses, colds. So we're going to put some little mallow in there, which is a really good phlegm buster. I call it nature's Mucinex, and it really is. I've used it. I made a tincture earlier in the season, thank goodness. I'm recovering from COVID, and that has helped me so much, just not feel like I'm drowning, which is great. It actually worked better than Dayquil, and I ran a little experiment. I did 4 days on my tincture and then 1 day with Dayquil, just because I was seeing if it was like a placebo effect, and I definitely felt better with my tincture. So it just goes to show that all these medicines that you buy at the grocery store, all of those constituents come from some sort of base. And if you'd like to do it naturally, you certainly can. But that's one of the things that I love about rosemary, is that it's so hardy. You can really just ignore the tar out of it and it will thrive, as well as lavender. Yarrow is pretty resilient, except that yarrow just didn't get watered all week and now it's gone dormant for the season, which kind of sucks. But it had already flowered a bunch, so it is what it is. I think my other yarrow that has access to the sprinkler system did okay, so we'll try to harvest some of that. I just saw my husband walk by. The BSU game is starting soon. Any football fans? Any college football fans out there? You excited for the first official day? So I will be making medicines while he is watching football and folding clothes. So that's how our house is. Same thing on this guy. You see this wood right here? We don't want to cut into that. We really want to cut into this flexible white towards the top. If you trim into the wood, that branch just won't continue to grow and your plant's going to be smaller. It is good to come out and harvest every once in a while, because it will encourage your plant to bushel out this way instead of getting really tall, which is going to give you more offshoots, which will be more rosemary. And I don't want to take too much. I want to take just enough, because my plan for the rest of this rosemary, maybe not all of it, but a good chunk of it, is going to be a hair rinse. I've experienced a lot of hair thinning and hair loss, and I want to try to reformulate my recipe and do a good rosemary and neem oil hair rinse, which we'll make at a later time. Let's see here. Sorry, I'm not really paying attention, but hi friends, welcome. Now that I've got some of these materials over here, we're gonna go harvest some little mallow, like I said. Little mallow is great for upper respiratory infections and even standard respiratory infections. And I have a really good patch of it right over here that has grown next to my little drying rack. And mallow is what they used to make marshmallows out of. They do a different process now, but it's a really beautiful plant. And you can use all parts of the plant, which we will do today. But the roots are really, really good, and so are the leaves. See if I can just show you here. This is mallow. Isn't that beautiful? And it does flower. You see these little flowers? Let me find a good one. See that little flower? Now I'm gonna rinse this and just put this into my fire cider. I made a tea with it and a tincture with it that really helped me, like I said, get over COVID. It's a great expectorant. So I'll definitely be using this in my fire cider. And fire ciders can have a plethora of different ingredients, but the main thought process is, let's make sure that we're adding ingredients that help your gut, help your chest, help your blood, and boost your immune system. So it's kind of interesting having an autoimmune disease. I feel like I'm sick all the time because I have to take immunosuppressants. Anytime the children get sick, I'm getting sick too. I'm gonna harvest just a little bit more of this. And I'm finding this all over my garden. This is just a decent patch that I wanted to pull up before it flowers too much more. And the reason why we want to pull it before it flowers is because once it flowers, all of that energy is going to the flower, versus in the stems and the leaves and the roots, which is what you have more of. You don't have as much flower, so you want to make sure it's potent by collecting it early. Oh my gosh, sorry, wasp. You scared me. Sorry to scream in your ear there. The wasp's just like chilling on me. So we're gonna pull him out. I'm so lucky I didn't just get stung, but that's okay. because I have some yarrow and that would have helped. Okay, now we're going to go over here. Check out my yarrow. My echinacea is done for the season. This is my beautiful yarrow, which does look like it is ready to be harvested. Yarrow is great for a plethora of things. I do not ingest yarrow because of my autoimmune disease. It can be too stimulating on the immune system. But if you don't have an autoimmune disease, I would definitely add yarrow to your fire cider. I'm going to collect this because we're going to make it into a salve. So I will use an oil pull on that and turn that into a salve. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to cut pretty generously a couple of leaves down the stem. And I do that so I have enough to dry with, but you want to be careful. If you see this little guy right here, he's not ready, but he's on the same stalk. So you don't want to cut more than you need, which I did anyway, which stinks, but that's okay. Just going to be a little more careful over here. And you want to collect the flower heads right before they go to seed. You're going to let them go to seed the first round, and then cut those dead ends off, and then new ones will grow, and then you want to catch them right before they go to seed. So it's kind of hard to see here, but up close you'll notice that the inside of these little florets are closed, which is great. That's what we want to see. I'm just going to trim those guys off. Like I said, sorry about the heavy breathing. I am still recovering. If you are a wild crafter and you like to find plants in nature like I do, be careful. There are a lot of lookalikes, like hemlock looks very similar to yarrow, but one of the easiest way to tell yarrow from a different plant is the leaves. The leaves are so distinctive. They have this like beautiful, thin, narrow, like fishtail, like fish spine type deal on them. And those will be a really big indicator that it is in fact yarrow and not poison hemlock. But if you're not sure, get a field guide or take somebody with you that knows what they're talking about until you get used to it. Google has a great plant identifier app that can kind of get you close, which is really helpful. Over here, we have our lemon balm. Or Melissa Officinalis, which I just think is so cute because that's my name. It's Melissa. Lemon balm is great. It's a great nervine agent, so it really helps soothe and relax. If you're an individual that struggles with anxiety, chronic pain, chronic fatigue, I would strongly suggest getting lemon balm, or even insomnia. This is just such a great mood additive. And you can eat it straight off eat the leaves straight off the plant. Obviously you want to rinse them first, but you could just pluck one and eat one. My biggest challenge is keeping my dog out of it because he loves it. But I'm going to take a couple clippings of this for some tea later tonight, just to kind of help me sleep. And isn't that gorgeous? Isn't that beautiful? Okay. All right, so let's go inside and start our fire cider. I know I said I was going to throw in thistle, but I don't have my gardening gloves and I just don't feel like dealing with that. So I think I have some dried thistle in the house, which I may use. Our backyard is under construction right now. I'm trying to rehab a table that's been sitting out there for too long. Just ask my husband. Oh, you brought stuffs. Can you move your stuffs, maybe? What'd you get? Let's bring you back down to earth here. I thought you were going to be watching the game upstairs.
You live streaming during a BSU game.
I am live streaming during the BSU game. What am I thinking? It's To be fair, he wasn't here when I started, so. Parchment paper.
I don't know, 5 different sorts of chew levels.
Aw, I love you. Thank you very much.
This was the hardest thing to find.
Apple cider? Really?
Because it's not fall yet.
Well, it feels like fall.
98.
I'm concerned as to what just fell. Is it really 98? It's pretty hot out there. All right. For those of you who don't know, my husband Chad. Say hi, Chad. Chad is actually a pretty middle of the road famous TikToker. He talks about geopolitics and economics, and he's wickedly smart, and it's just funny because he and I are polar opposites. But it works. You're good. I'm just getting set up here. We're going to make some fire cider. Hi, Margaret. I'm glad you joined. What's this? You bought a candle? Okay. Ooh, you found turmeric. Okay, I will probably have to run upstairs to get cinnamon and turmeric, or not turmeric, my star anise, unless I happen to have any down here, which sometimes I do. But today we are just going to make some fire cider with our various ingredients, those real gut busting, sorry. We don't want to bust your gut. We want to help boost your gut, right? Gut boosting. You can tell I still have COVID. My brain is just everywhere. I'm not detectable anymore, so I can't spread it. I'm just like recovering, which has been rough. But this is going to help boost our gut microbiome, our immunities, and it's going to help us recover. It's going to help purify the blood as well. So I'm going to grab a cutting board and start chopping up our ingredients. Our primary ingredient today, apple cider vinegar in the raw with mother. This is really, really great for the gut, really, really powerful. I'm going to incorporate some raw unfiltered honey. They call it fire cider for a reason, because a lot of the ingredients that you're going to use are super pungent or spicy and astringent. So it's really those flavors. In Ayurveda, we call those rasas or tastes, and certain tastes can bring on certain things. And so that fire is going to light a fire in your gut. And we know that the gut controls so much of our health and our immunity. So we just want to help support that. We're also going to incorporate black peppers, whole black pepper kernels. So that's also pretty spicy. So we've just got black pepper. Wow, that's intense. A lot of people will grind some of this up first, and I'm going to do a good portion of that. I think I'm going to skip the black pepper. The last thing I need is to have a sneezing fit, even though I think that would really get things going. We don't want to do that. Oh, I asked him to buy more star anise. That's right, because I'm doing a simmer pot later. So we have star anise. We're also going to add some habaneros, which I can handle spicy. If you are not a spicy person, you're going to want to opt for jalapenos instead. And you're going to include seeds and all. You want that capsaicin. And for those of you who have autoimmune diseases that get a little, or don't want to eat nightshades or ingest nightshades, I totally understand. For me, the benefit outweighs the potential inflammation that I could see. And I haven't experienced any inflammation yet by taking it, but you're going to know your own body. Anything that is not prescribed by a doctor, you really want to do your research. If you're into more holistic, just make sure that if you're taking any other supplements, they're not going to interact with what you're taking. So before you introduce anything to your body, please do the research. I am a certified herbalist and an Ayurvedic wellness coach. I'm not a doctor. So what I'm making for myself, if you would like to incorporate some of these things on your own, or if you're ever interested in just getting a private consultation, I'd be more than happy to do that. In fact, we are hopefully over the next 6 months to a year going to be launching a small business where I will be pushing my remedies to the greater public. I'll be teaching classes and I'll be doing private consultations as well. For now, I'm just kind of getting started, so feel free to ask questions if you have any, if you're curious. We're also going to be adding lemon. You want vitamin C. Vitamin C is huge when you're trying to recover, vitamin C and zinc, so you want to make sure you're incorporating stuff like that. Ginger. Ginger is a great cold and flu fighter. It really is. Antibacterial, antimicrobial, as well as it's just great for increasing circulation, which a lot of times when we get sick, we want that like illness to get pushed out of our body, so that if we can help that circulatory system get moving, then you will be less likely to be sick as long. I've got some oranges and I've got some apples and I've got an onion. We're also going to be adding garlic. Now I've got some garlic that I've already pre-minced just to make my life a little bit easier, but we're going to be adding all of these ingredients to our apple cider vinegar and putting it in a glass jar. And if you have one of those glass jars that has like a flap top lid, let me get one. Okay, if you have a glass jar that has the flap top lid that's got like the silicone in it, great, you don't need parchment paper. If you don't, if you're not going to, if you're going to use like a traditional jar, like a traditional mason jar, you're absolutely going to want to put a piece of parchment paper in between that, because that vinegar will eat at the metal top. So you don't want that. You don't want pieces of metal in your stuff. We don't want to have to do a metal detox as well. Actually, no, you don't have to heat it. This is an infusion. So this is a tonic, and that apple cider vinegar acts as what we call a menstruum, which is just a fancy way of saying, hey, there's this liquid that we're putting solids into to draw the components of that solid out. So that menstruum will soak for 4 weeks, and then you strain it off, and that's how you get that tonic. And the tonic can sit in the cupboard for about 18 months, dry, dark place. Or you can freeze it, which is what I do. I freeze up a big batch, and then as I need it, I make little ice cube portions. And as I need it, I thaw it at room temperature, or you can keep it in the fridge for like 6 months. But in the freezer, it lasts forever. So it's been a couple of years since I've made it. It's time to make it again because I'm totally out, and I wish I had done this sooner because it does take some time to sit. Just like tinctures and ox smells and oils, it takes a little bit of time. So I've done a lot of talking. I'm going to breathe for a minute, and then we can get to chopping, and I'll wash my hands and we'll get started. Let me know if you have any questions about fire cider or herbal remedies or just naturopathy in general. I'd be more than happy to answer. Right now, I'm just looking to see if I have cinnamon sticks down here. I might have to go upstairs. We gotta go upstairs and get some cinnamon. That's like the only thing I don't have down here. If the house looks like it's in shambles, it is. My husband was out of town for work, and I had COVID, and it looks like the kids were playing toss the stuffy down the stairs. Let me know if you have any questions. Be more than happy to answer. Cinnamon sticks. Boom. Has anyone else gotten sick so far this year? It's cold and flu season. Oh, poor Margaret. I'm sorry. You're local, aren't you, Margaret? You live in Boise? How are you doing with all the fires around us? Boise has been on fire for a bit. Not the city, but we live in this really weird spot where there are mountains all around us, and then it's a big, like, high desert in this little bowl around it, and there's just forest fires everywhere. It's awful. Nevada, I don't know, are there a lot of fires in Nevada right now? Okay. Well, first things first, I'm going to soak my mallow a little bit and rinse it off before we chop that guy up and put him in there. Give him a good rinse. Okay. And our thyme and our rosemary. I don't want any buggies on there, so I'm just going to put it in a colander and rinse that guy out. Okay. It's really important to rinse your materials. I know it can be easy to be lazy sometimes and just shove them right in, but last thing you want is making a medicine and there's like tiny little bugs in there. Yeah, California, I feel like, is always on fire. It's just like a given. California is always on fire. So a lot of times when you see fire cider being made, you will see people just shove the whole plant right into the jar. I'm not a fan of that. I'm not a fan of that for two reasons. One, you have not pulverized the plant material and to help that vinegar really soak up all of the constituents. So the vinegar is going to have to fight harder to permeate through like the woodiness of the stems on both the thyme and the rosemary. So for me, it's imperative to crush that up. So I will be doing that. You can do that in a couple of ways. I just have some scissors. I'm going to snip it up. You could put it in a food processor. Some people prefer to do just like old school mortar and pestle or a knife, whatever you'd like. I'm just going to chop that up. And then the other reason I do it is so I can fit more materials into the jar, right? So when I make the bit smaller, I'm going to strain it anyway. If I have the time to do it, which anytime I'm making an herbal remedy, I try not to rush it. I just feel like the energy gets put off. Like if I'm resenting the fact that I have to do this right now, like I want to be present and mindful for what I'm doing. So if I have the time, which I traditionally do, I will take my time. On that rosemary, I just slid those off, and then I'm going to bunch them up in my fingers and just snippy snip, however you want to do it. I have herb scissors. They work great. They tend to hurt my hands. With my autoimmune condition, it really affects my hands, the joints in my hands. So I try not to overdo it. Sometimes I do anyway, because that's just who I am and I'm suffering. But I have not taken any of my medications because I've been too afraid to take my immunosuppressants while being sick because I want to not be sick. So what made you guys join the live today? I know, Margaret, you were saying on a comment that you need to learn how to make it so you can get better. If you're sick now, there are definitely teas that you can make to help you feel better. I would probably need to know your health conditions beforehand, but always echinacea is a good start. Echinacea is great. I always suggest like lemon balm for comfort when you're sick. Like make a good soup if you can. Something with bone broth and garlic and onion. So a lot of these same ingredients that we're going to be putting into this are things that you can eat and drink now that'll help you get over a cold faster. Or sometimes at your like local natural grocer, you can find like flu bombs. Those are really helpful. And those will have a lot of these same ingredients in them. The rosemary, the thyme, oregano, those are all really, really great herbs, and the garlic and the onion. Turmeric is great. If you've never had a turmeric latte, you should try it. They're so yummy. And if you're congested, you probably don't want milk, which is totally fine. You can usually get like a ginger turmeric tea blend. And that would probably be super helpful. Vitamin C is great. Taking a zinc and supplement is great. Zinc is really, really great at shortening the longevity of colds. Okay. So I'm just still processing that rosemary. It's going to take some time. But for this big vat that I'm doing, I want about 1.5 tablespoons to 2 tablespoons of each the thyme and the rosemary. So I'm just going to keep adding until I feel like I've gotten there. So it just depends. There is no right or wrong when it comes to fire cider, folks. It is like your grandma's chicken noodle soup recipe. Some people are going to put certain things in it. You're like, wow, I've never thought of that. So other people are going to put other stuff in there. Like, I would never put that in there. That's totally fine. The real base here is that apple cider vinegar, the onion, the garlic, the peppers of some sort, and then rosemary and thyme and cinnamon and turmeric and some sort of vitamin C. And then a lot of people add extra stuff like the black peppercorns. If that ends up being too spicy for you, you can totally substitute for a less spicy pepper. But that capsaicin is really what we're after. So you could add chili flakes. Like dehydrated chili flakes tend to not be as spicy. So you could certainly add that. And some people add cranberries. I add lemon, oranges, and apples to mine. But there is really no right or wrong. There just is. There just is. Let's see. The smoke out here is intense. They canceled all the high school sporting events. Yeah, you're a big wimp when it comes to spice. That's okay. I would probably use the chili flakes instead of the raw peppers. When you dehydrate them, it eliminates a lot of that oil, but there's still some of it in there, so you can certainly use that. So I think I've got enough plant material in there now. We're going to move on, and I'm going to start to dice up my peppers. I probably should have gloves, but, you know, as with all things I do in life, we're going to wing it. We're going to wing it, and it's going to be fine. And if I have to wash my hands because it's too spicy, then I have to wash my hands. It doesn't have to be a beautiful chop on there, guys. It really doesn't. Oh, my knife's over here. I mean, if you want to make it like aesthetically pleasing, you certainly can. I forgot to turn off the request for joins. I'm sorry. I have to keep getting those out of there. But I mean, if you're one that prefers the aesthetic, then go for it. I'm just cutting it, and we're going to put seeds and everything in there. So this is going to be a hot one. And that burn is so intense, but it's short-lived, and it will absolutely help you out. So I'm just going to slide those off my cutting board, not using my hands because they are habanero peppers. Directly into my jar here. Boop. And I have 2 of those guys. So far my eyes aren't burning, which is great. These were good peppers. He picked good ones. They're still kind of juicy. Oh no. Definitely cannot rub my face at all. That will be a bad day. Chad also got me some 100 proof vodka. I'm going to make some more tinctures today if I have time. Tinctures are a great way of like a quick shot. And it's the same concept. Instead of the apple cider vinegar, which vinegars are those tonics, a tincture has just been saturated about 4 to 6 weeks, sometimes 8 weeks, depending on what it is you're doing. They have been saturated. Certain plants have been saturated in it for an extended period of time to draw out those extracts. So next I'm going to do my onion. You see some people use red onions, some people use white, some people use yellow. I have a theory, and there's no scientific basis for this, but in my humble opinion, the stronger the onion, the more of that benefit you're going to get. And while red onions have a really great flavor raw, they're just not as pungent. And being somebody who comes from an Ayurvedic background, I understand that what we are after is that pungency. That's going to help do stuff in our bodies. It is going to help our immune system do things, and it's going to help fight off those germs. And there may be studies out there on if I'm right, if there are certain types of onions that are more potent or less potent. I haven't read them. I haven't done the research. I probably should. But I'm just using a standard white onion. I think yellow onions have a really great flavor. White onions are okay. I probably cook with white onions the least unless it's in a soup, which is kind of where my mind is going, because in a soup, that flavor stays and you really get the whole essence of it. Wow, my eyes are watering way more with onion than they did the habanero. But this is not a beautiful chop, guys. I'm just trying to get it small enough so it's not a hindrance. Like I said, I could have used the food processor, but it's loud and I'm trying to talk to y'all. So in our onion goes into our jar. Whoo, lordy, that is spicy. Welcome everyone. If you are new here, we're making fire cider. It is a folkloric herbal remedy that has been around for years and years and years and years and years. And our ancestors made it primarily in Europe and in North America and in South America. And it's essentially a blend of citrus and onions and garlic and other herbs and spices that help you get over a cold faster. So that's what we're doing. It's not just cutting onions. I'm going to wash my hands real quick. Fire cider incorporates capsaicin, thyme, rosemary, citrus, ginger, turmeric, and a bunch of other stuff. You know, and I'm sure there's a version of this in Chinese medicine as well, now that I think about it. I will have to ask my friend whose husband is a TCM specialist because I don't know. Another thing you see is some people will peel their turmeric and their ginger. I'm not going to do that because I'm already cutting it up. If I weren't cutting it up and I was just putting slices in there, then I suppose that would make the most sense, just to expose the interior of this tuber. But I am just going to chop this guy up. Turmeric is great for anti-inflammatory everything. If you have an autoimmune disease and or a problem with inflammation, if you're chronically inflamed somewhere in your body and you are not taking turmeric, I'm definitely going to ask you why. You need to be taking it, and you don't have to eat it. A lot of people prefer to eat it. Some people don't like the taste, but you can get it in capsules. That's how I take it, or how I used to take it. Now I take this like little juice shot in the morning, turmeric juice shot, which is great. Ginger is also great for anti-inflammatory. And the reason you want an anti-inflammatory when you're ill is a lot of times when you have those mucous membranes that are inflamed, they're harder to clear. So you're going to want to have an anti-inflammatory to help flush that out of your system. Absolutely. We're not measuring here. So far I've done a couple tablespoons of thyme and rosemary, 2 habanero peppers. You can substitute for a less spicy pepper or chili flakes instead, a whole onion, and so far I've done 2 tubers of turmeric. I'm probably going to do these couple more and maybe one more small one. So probably 4 regular sized tubers of that turmeric. Again, no rhyme or reason, just going with my heart here. Feeling what feels right. And there's that funny adage where they're like, seasoning until my ancestors tell me that's enough. Sort of what we're doing here. The great thing about herbal remedies is if you can find ones out there like Fire Cider that have been around for forever and have been, tried and tested, you kind of get a feel for what am I after, how can I make this my own, which is one of the really great things about herbal remedies is you can try it, and if you don't like it or something's off or your body didn't react well to it, you can absolutely try something else. I am adding garlic now. We're going to do 2 tablespoons of garlic. Let me get my little measuring spoon. 1 tablespoon. This I just bought pre-chopped. Some people will tell you got to do it yourself. I'm just going to add a little bit extra because it is pre-chopped. Sometimes when it sits in water, the water will soak up the benefit. So I'm going to just do about 2.5 tablespoons just to kind of get some more of that essence in there. And when they say fire cider, it's fire cider for a reason. It is pungent, it is spicy, it packs a punch. I'm going to go ahead and just release some of that in the citrus before I cut it. And we don't need it super pretty unless you plan on giving this as a gift to somebody, which you totally can. Most of the time when people give them as gifts, they're going to strain it off and put it in a bottle before they give it to somebody. But you never know. I mean, I think for Christmas gifts, sometimes cute little jars that have essence in them look cute. I traditionally go for like a candle or a simmer pot, but obviously that wouldn't have liquid in it. They would be able to add their own liquid at a later date. Has anyone ever made a simmer pot? Do you know what I'm talking about? Or what they're good for? simmer pots are good for a couple of things. One, aromatherapy. I mean, do not undermine aromatherapy. There is a real science behind it. When we feel relaxed or invigorated, or, I mean, honestly, a plethora of things happen when we smell things. It triggers our sympathetic nervous system. So I'm just smushing those oranges down right now. So you can use a simmer pot to create an aroma in your home, but you can also use it to sort of cleanse the space. So you can do a simmer pot that has antibacterial, antimicrobial components in it, such as like rosemary, sage, thyme, that kind of stuff. And it will actually work as an air sanitizer by just boiling a pot on the stove and letting that aroma release into the air. Additionally, you can do steams, right? So you can put things into your simmer pot and take a towel and drape your face over the steam and just kind of inhale that. And that's the same effect that you would get from like putting a shower steamer in the shower. So if you're in a pinch and you just need something to help clear you out right away, you can certainly do that as well. So I've got my orange in there. I'm going to add my lemon. I love simmer pots. I'm going to do one later today. Just hopefully get the rest of this tar out of my sinuses. And it should help my home smell nice. My husband's fighting me on that it's too early for fall. And I don't think it is, because I've gotten my first cold. So therefore, it can't be too soon for fall, right? Pumpkins can go up.
Tomorrow.
No, it's not too soon for fall.
September 1st.
This is an argument we have every year, but I will let him keep his fall if I can do Christmas early. Oh my gosh, if you have not seen our house at Christmas time, you're missing out, man. Well, that's what happens when you have children. They eat your ice cream. Oh, well, that's good. I'm glad you got your ice cream. For those of you who don't know us or watch our TikToks, we have 4 kids. We are a blended family. And that means that kids come home with bugs and germs and stuff. And we made it like a week into school before everyone got sick. And then one of our older kiddos let us know that her friend had COVID, but that was like 3 weeks ago. And I'm like, oh great, that's where everyone got sick. It's really interesting because my husband and I got sick very differently. I didn't have the same symptoms he had, so I kind of didn't know I had COVID until after he left for his trip to DC, which was kind of a nightmare, being home by myself with all these kids and football and volleyball and cheer and all the sports that they do. But I will not let that happen again. We are going to be ready. So far, just to recap on what is in here, we have thyme, rosemary, onion, habanero, garlic, turmeric, orange, lemon, and then I'm going to add our, before I forget, because this is super important, I'm going to add our ginger. Ginger. Oh my gosh. Have you ever just had a stomach ache and gone and got like true ginger bug, like ginger beer? Have you ever done that? Because if you haven't, life-changing. I'm just going to cut off this knobby guy here and include this one and then chop that all up. And then I'm going to leave the rest of this ginger for something else. Not quite sure yet. Again, I'm not going to skin it. I don't see the need to. I'm just going to strain it anyway. I'm just going to slice them up real thin, just so I can kind of get all of that goodness exposed. Okay, some of the slices aren't super thin, but we're working on it. But yeah, I had posted a while back about some sort of secret or surprise that was upcoming, and the secret or surprise I will allude to briefly here is I am opening up my own shop. And I wasn't quite sure what that was going to look like, but my husband and I decided that we wanted to be small business owners. I'm a general manager of an art glass studio. Now that I'm looking at that, that's not quite enough. We're going to add a little bit more. And my husband works for the VA, Department of Veterans Affairs. And he's going to keep his job, and I'm going to keep mine, but launch this business. And then all these things happened, and I got really ill. So that's kind of been put on the back burner. But we're hoping in about 6 months to a year that we'll be able to put this out. So if you're interested in more classes, I'm going to do live form like this. But if you want more in-depth stuff, or if you want a personal consultation, please reach out. I'll be creating a business page here soon. But the reality is humans are humans, and people get sick, and I'm not exempt from that. In fact, I probably get sick more because of my autoimmune condition. We're going to add some apple. I'm starting to run out of room here, so I'm just going to do half an apple. Or, I don't know, I might be able to fit it all in there. You know what they say, an apple a day. We don't want seeds. Apple seeds are actually quite toxic for you. Not in this small of a dose, but just out of habit, I always try to take out the seeds. I'm going to try to get those apples a bit smaller so I can mash everything up in there. And I'm, again, not skinning them. There are vital components to all these plants in the skins themselves. We have discovered that a lot of the vitamins and the nutrients of an apple are in the skin. Same with potatoes. So all those good minerals, I do not want to throw those out, so I'm going to hold on to them. Smushy. Sweet, thanks for the follow. Yeah, I'm not overly sophisticated at making videos. Like, I'm not one of those prime content creators that's going to have like the most visual, aesthetically pleasing stuff. But I'm real. I'm a real human with real knowledge, and this has always been a passion of mine. I've always felt drawn to herbalism, and even in my spiritual beliefs, I've always kind of aligned more with the thought that everything is connected, and that we're all connected, and the plants and the air and the water and the sun and everything. So when I found out that we're all stardust, I was like, that tracks, that makes sense. And there are ways to help bring you into alignment and ways that bring you out of alignment. And I feel like our lives in modern society have changed so much that it's just busy, go. And just having a way to reconnect to that kind of old way, I think, has been transformational for me in my life. And I feel so at peace just making stuff. And then for it to actually work is just phenomenal. I started dabbling in herbal remedies when I was probably about 17 or 18, and I would make stuff and I'd be so proud of myself when it actually helped people. And I took a break from it, and then I got an education and became an Ayurvedic consultant. Then I never launched my business. I felt like there was more. Yes, we did put apple in there. I felt like there was more, and I really wanted a more like traditional, like Western herbalism. I felt really called to that too. And so a lot of what you see me incorporate into my stuff is a little bit of Eastern and a little bit of Western. And I think there's definitely a place in the world for herbal remedies, as well as like Western medicine in the sense of like modern medicine, right? This is our mallow that we rinsed. If you've never seen mallow, this is what it looks like. This is actually little mallow, and it's called little mallow because the leaves are smaller. But this is what it looks like, and this is what they used to make marshmallows out of, right? And it does have a beautiful flower to it. I think, oh, here's one. This beautiful flower. These are very, very rich in antioxidants. They're rich in vitamins, and they're a great expectorant. If you are having just a cough that won't go away, this is great. You can make a tincture out of it. You can make a tea. You can chew it. It also has great antibacterial and great antimicrobial properties. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to chop this guy up, and we're going to try to shove him in there too. I'm going to focus on the tender roots. So this does have like a woody root. I will dry these, and I'm going to use this in something else. So I'm just going to take off my leaves here, and I'm going to set my rest aside. The tincture that I made out of this a couple months back, I was really grateful to have this week because I was very sick. And I'm just going to chop that guy up. Doesn't have to be beautiful, just needs to fit in the jar. And I've got 2 decent bundles in here. Because the plant matter is fresh, I am sick. I'm recovering from COVID. I wish I would have done this a month ago because it takes a month to sit, but that's okay. I'm just going to shove that guy in there. I might do one more good stalk of this. And then we're going to add our cinnamon, our star anise, our black peppercorn, and then we're going to fill it to the top with that apple cider vinegar. And like I said, if you are making this without one of these flip top jars that has, oh, that's okay. I'm feeling much better today. I just sound terrible. If you have one of those flip top jars that has this silicone piece on it, that is fine. You don't need parchment paper. If you had a traditional metal top jar, glass jar, you're going to want to use parchment paper. And the reason behind that is the vinegar will erode that metal, and you don't want heavy metals in your stuff. Has anyone ever done a heavy metal cleanse? A heavy metal detox? I have not, but I'm pretty sure I need to, because I had no idea about forever chemicals until recently. I watched that movie about it, and I guess when that all kind of came to light, I wasn't a big news watcher. I haven't been a big news watcher for a long time. I just feel like it's a lot of doom and gloom. So sometimes I'm super out of the net there. But this is star anise. This is a broken one. Let me find a whole one for you. Gosh, this is an amazing spice. It is so amazing. I'm having trouble finding a whole one. Oh, here we go. This is star anise. And if I had to explain what star anise is like, it's like if nutmeg and cinnamon and pepper had a baby. That's what it's like. So it's got this beautiful color to it as well, and this beautiful design. So if you're ever making like a warm latte or like a tea latte, or just a nice like winter drink like a spiced cider or a mulled wine, this guy looks so beautiful in there. So we're going to add some star anise. I'm adding 4 tops to this. Again, I don't have a rhyme or reason. It just looks really good. And I'm adding my black peppercorn. On that guy, I'm just going to add a handful. I think if you are not one that appreciates spice like I am, you could probably measure out a teaspoon or 2 teaspoons. And then our last ingredient here is going to be that raw honey. And again, I am just measuring with my heart here. I want to save some of this for an oxymel. An oxymel is an infused honey, which I like to make cough syrups with, which the rest of that little mallow is going to go into. I would say that was probably a quarter to a third a cup of raw unfiltered honey. The honey helps with the spiciness, and it is really, really good for you. There is controversy in the Ayurvedic world and the traditional herb and the Western herbalism world whether or not honey should be heated. I do not think honey should be heated. Oh, sorry, I'm having to do a puzzle. Boop. Oh gosh. It's making me verify something. Stop it. Of course, this would have to be like the most ridiculous thing ever. My fingers are sticky. Let me wash my hands before I do this. It's trying to cut my live off. Okay. No, when I let go, it like moves. Okay, it took it that time. Sorry. We got there. Unrelated, has nothing to do with apple cider vinegar, but aren't these the cutest little salad tongs? They're little mushies. So I've got all my ingredients in there, and I'm going to go ahead and save this live and edit it down really, really well and put all my ingredients that I used. So if you want to make this again, you can definitely do that. I'm also going to tentatively give you the name of my website because it's not done yet, but I will soon have on my website my recipe for apple cider vinegar. It is www.boisebrewsandpotions.com. So that's BOISE, brews, BREWS, potions, POTIONS.com. Oh, thank you. I like it too. Sorry, COVID makes my brain not work. But BoiseBrewsPotions.com, and that is the official name of the business that we're launching, called Boise Brews and Potions. And you will be able to find that content there, and more content to come, and hopefully soon a YouTube page and all of that. Yeah, so herbal remedies, and as a certified herbalist myself, just kind of sharing that with the public, and then eventually I will have products. So if you're like, that fire cider looks really cool, but I'm not trying to make it, and you want to like buy some stuff, or you see some stuff that I make that you think might be too complicated, I will have products there as well. So now we're just going to top, and just so you're aware, if I were making this for a commercial purpose, I'd be wearing gloves and an apron and a hairnet and all that stuff, but I am not. This is for my family, so they can have all my germs. So I'm just filling it to the top with that apple cider vinegar with Mother, and closing it because it has that silicone top that we talked about, so it won't oxidize. The vinegar won't oxidize. And just give it some good shakes, and then this is going to sit, because it's vinegar, you don't need to keep it in an amber container or out of the sun. It can be exposed to the sun because the vinegar is just going to pickle it. So this is going to sit, now that I've given it a shake, all my stuff is not covered with vinegar, so I'm going to add some more, but it's just going to sit for 4 weeks. And then after the 4 weeks, I'm going to strain the liquid out, and whatever's left, all that plant matter, I'm not really going to be doing anything with it. It is just going to get thrown away because it will have very little benefit when I'm done. But sometimes with herbal remedies, you can do a second pull. This is not one of them. So this is going to sit, and then, like I said, in 4 weeks, I will have that tonic. You can freeze it, which is my preference. I like to freeze it in ice cube trays, and then I can pull it out as needed in little bundles and just let it get to room temperature to defrost. You can keep it in the fridge for about 6 months if you'd prefer for it to be cold, or you can keep it in a cabinet for about 12 to 18 months. So If you're keeping it in a cabinet, as with all herbal remedies, things that can be stored in the cabinet, you want it to be stored in a cool, dry place. You don't want it to get too hot, so it's not, some sort of cellar outside. If you live in Idaho and it's 100 degrees in August, you don't want it sitting out there. You don't want it freezing either, because then the glass can shatter, and that would be bad business. So it's up to you how you want to store it. But thanks for joining me. I'm going to take a quick break. If you're interested in seeing the simmer pot version, we will be doing that later. So have a great day. Like and follow for more content, and thanks for joining.